Welcome, guys, to another edition of the TWSN Soccer sit-down show. What a great start off already. I'm joined here by my good friend Christian Black.
Joe's over here. It's 11 in the morning. You should understand this. For everyone who's watching, it takes a little time.
Joined us today, but he's with us in spirit. We have a lot of topics today. We're going to discuss the UCL Final, where Chelsea defeated Manchester City. Conte to Spurs, the deal that broke through. I have a lot to say on that. The U.S. men's national team is playing Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League final tomorrow night, so we'll also touch on that. And then Euro 2020 or 2021, whatever one you want to go with it. We're going to discuss that as well and maybe pick a favorite and just discuss some of the games that are coming up. But first off, let's discuss the UCL final from a week ago today. Chelsea was able to sneak out a 1-0 win against Manchester City in an upset. I mean, I'm not to brag. Yes, to brag. I predicted a 1-0 victory for Chelsea. But, yeah. Christian, what were your thoughts from that game? I wasn't able to watch it. I only saw the highlights. I was at work. But, Christian, I know you were able to watch it.
Yeah, so I caught the second half of the game. I missed the first half. But from what I've heard, what I've seen in terms of highlights and stuff, we expected it to be tight. I didn't think, Chelsea would win, to be honest. I did think Manchester City would find a way to do it just because the sheer amount of talent they have and defensively, they didn't really seem to have any holes. But, Chelsea finds a way to break through. I want to give credit where credit is due, and I think Timo Werner, while he is not a good finisher and he has not shown that throughout the entire season, without his run to the outside towards the corner, that doesn't open up the space for Kai Havertz to get behind Zinchenko, who ended up going on to score. So, Timo Werner, yeah, he hasn't been a good finisher this season. Obviously, last season he was very good at Leipzig, a very different league, a very different style in terms of how they play in Germany versus England. But he showed up in that final, even though he didn't finish. All they had to do was score one goal and they won the game. And without that run, the space doesn't open up for Havertz, and Havertz may never score if that run isn't made. So credit to him. But in terms of the game overall, from what I saw in terms of the second half, obviously Manchester City was chasing the game. They needed to get a goal. It did not help that Kevin De Bruyne got hurt and was out for the game. Obviously, he had some fractures in his nose, which might cost him some time for the Euros for Belgium. But overall, I mean, Chelsea did a good job defensively. They didn't really give up too many clear-cut chances. There was one at the end from Riyad Mahrez on his weak foot, his right foot, that seemed to look like it was going in, but it had Mendy kind of stuck in the middle of the net, and it ended up going over. But overall, I think Chelsea have a very good defense. They were very compact. They did what they needed to do. Pulisic, which would have been nice from our perspective as American fans to see him score, and he didn't end up putting that second one away late in the game. But overall, I mean, there were certainly people like you that predicted, Chelsea to win just because they do have a good defense. They are very stylistically in terms of being able to, control the game, even though they may not be in possession. But overall, yeah, it was a fun game to watch. It was kind of, boring. And speaking of boring UCL finals, when we faced
no, we're not bringing that game up today. It wasn't a friggin' handball, and I saw a play that was very similar to that handball. Okay, I saw that happen in this final, but little old Spurs always get shafted. All right, but anyway, back. Keep going, Christian. Just don't bring that final up.
All right, that's enough for me today. But in terms of Chelsea, I think this is a great way to end their season because obviously losing the FA Cup final was pretty disappointing. They snuck by, and thank goodness to Spurs, because if Spurs doesn't go and beat Leicester on the final day, Chelsea could be out of the top four as well. So talk about losing the FA Cup final, getting out of the top four and possibly losing the Champions League. That would have been terrible. But luckily they got top four and they won the Champions League. So credit to them, credit to Tuchel. We'll see what they do in terms of, reinvesting in the squad and, finding some holes to figure things out. We could see Donnarumma from AC Milan, who is now going to leave on a free. We'll see what kind of contract he wants. Seems like he wants about $15 million a season, which is very steep. Maybe they replace Kepa and Mendy. I don't know what they're going to do, but in terms,
Mendy's good, man. There's no reason to replace Mendy.
Yeah, the only difference I would say in Donnarumma versus Mendy is Donnarumma, I believe, is 22 and Mendy's 29. So you obviously get a long-term investment.
Longer though, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, back on the final, I think Chelsea, it was a deserved win. I think it's more that they won versus Manchester City lost. I mean, obviously, I know you have your fair share of negative criticism towards Pep, so I'll let you do that now.
Just bring that up. That's a great transition.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pep did not play a DM, and that cost them. He decided to play, what was it, 6 or 8 attackers?
He played Gundogan as a 6.
Yeah, what is he thinking? Why would you're going into a Champions League final, right? And these are matches that are known for, like, normally they're not too high scoring, a lot of feel out games. Yet he decides to attack this team who is notoriously Chelsea is known for under Tuchel for being a counter-attacking team. They have guys who feast on the counter-attack. So what does he do? He allows them to play he lets them play to their strength. It was extremely bad tactics. And Christian, I've been saying this for years. Pep always messes it up in the big games. If he doesn't have Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta, what's he going to do? He needs and look at this team he has. Look at this team he has. This Manchester City team was the best team in the world this year, and he still managed to screw it up. Unless he has the best player of all time on his team, he can't win a Champions League. He can't win in Europe. He is a fraud. He's fake. He's fake. He's not a real person. He can't be a real person. There's no way you go into a Champions League final against one of the best counterattacking teams who have extremely quick players up front and don't play a DM.
Yep.
And look at the difference. Conte, man. Conte won man of the match, didn't he?
Yep.
Conte, I mean, you could argue he's not really a DM. He's more of a box to box, but he's more defensively oriented than offensively oriented. And he changed the game. I literally said on our Wingers and Defenders show, Christian. I said to Toby, I don't think you were on the show for it because you had fun, but I said Conte is going to be the guy who impacts this match the most. He's going to run around and stop these passes from De Bruyne and anyone else, and have to stop that and really stiffen the attack for City. And that's exactly what happened from the highlights, at least. And I know you can see what happened. It's a 1-0 game. And then boom, they hit a counterattack. There's really got to be some questions about Pep in Europe, man. I mean, I know the starting, but like he's winning the Premier League because he has the most money. But even though he still has the most money, he still can't win in Europe. It's sickening.
Yeah, and in terms of the 6, I completely agree. I think that was, I mean, I don't see too many other mistakes he made in terms of how he went about things in that game. But that is definitely a huge one because that's a huge important position. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. That 6 and that guy who's in front of the 2 center backs is really important. And I think honestly, if I were him, I would have started Rodri. I think I fancy him over Fernandinho in a one-off game. He's much younger, much more agile. I mean, Fernandinho has the experience, but then again, Rodri's been, great for a while. He was great at Atletico Madrid, moved to City. He's been great there. Obviously, he's in the Spain national team. So he's a high-class 6. Yeah, he goes with an 8 in the 6th position with Gundogan. Yeah, and we can mention that as well. I mean, he did take a while to bring on Gabriel Jesus and Aguero. I don't remember what minutes. I could go back and look at that. But, yeah, he took a long time to make changes and make adjustments. Personally, I think, Aguero
he was overconfident. That's the best way to put it. He thought he could just blitz Chelsea. And who has blitzed Chelsea other than West Brom? Which is kind of ironic considering West Brom got relegated. But, like, I don't think any other team under Tuchel's reign has blitzed Chelsea. It doesn't make sense.
West Brom or Chelsea went down to 10 men in that game as well. So that also played a part. But, yeah, I completely agree with you because Chelsea don't really get blitzed. They've been really good defensively, and I know a lot of people talk about the Manchester City defense, and rightfully so because it's been very good. But Chelsea's right there as well. I mean, they don't really have, that elite class, world-class center back. I mean, Thiago Silva's, getting past it. He came off in the final as well. But, I mean, Andres Christensen, Kurt Zuma, Rudiger. I mean, they let Tomori go, which I think we'll talk about that throughout the next 3 or 4 years. That's a move that's very interesting for Milan. But in terms of their center backs, they don't really have, a top 10 in the center back in the world. I mean, I don't really consider Thiago Silva at this point as that. So
he's a rock back there, though. He has experience, and that's what you need in the Champions League final for a team like this. Chelsea's a pretty young team.
Yeah, having him and having Cesar Azpilicueta on the right those are the big keys, because you have that leadership. You also have, of course, Conte, like you mentioned before. Even guys like Jorginho, they're more along in their career, and having that leadership, especially in the core, because that's from the center backs and the midfield. So right down the middle, you have all your leadership and your ability to control the game, which we saw, because obviously Conte won man of the match. You sang all his praises before. He's one of the best midfielders in the world still at this point in his career. So yeah, all praise to Chelsea, because I think they genuinely deserve that win. But yeah, I mean, the questions will continue to come at Pep until he can finally prove himself. May never prove himself on the Champions League spectrum with Manchester City, but I guess we'll find out over the next couple seasons.
Absolutely. And shifting to a former Chelsea manager and Inter manager, Antonio Conte, he was like this close to signing my Tottenham Hotspur, and then he basically said they don't have enough ambition for me. And I thought that was just I don't even know how to put into words. I guess the best way to say, I put out a tweet last night. I said Spurs have banners and everything around their stadium. They say the game is about glory, but under Enoch and Daniel Levy, they don't show that they care about glory. They don't show that they care about winning. They show that they care more about profits over anything. You have a manager, Antonio Conte. Conte is one of the best managers, and I mean, he just won the Scudetto with Inter. That Juventus has been dominating that league for years on end. He came to Chelsea, he won the Premier League, and he put up better numbers than the Invincibles and Sir Alex's treble-winning side. And Conte is the real deal. And Levy was like, I can't give you everything you want. I can't promise I'll back you. I can't give you like he said he wanted like 5 or 6 assistants, and Levy was like, you're only getting 4 assistants. What you have to have some cojones to go up and tell Conte that he can't have what he wants. This is why I genuinely lost a lot of feeling towards my club after that happened, because I was just like, they don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care. They don't want to actually win. They want to just keep the profit margin, and they want to be able to just say, yeah, see, we're not bad. We can get top 4 every once in a while. We can get Europa Conference League. We're still in Europe. They don't care. They don't care. Harry Kane, I hope you leave. I wanted you to stay, but I don't want you to be sucked up in this terrible leadership, terrible management. You deserve better. You deserve better. You're one of the best players in the world. You don't deserve to be held back by a club and an ownership group that doesn't want to win. And Max, you're absolutely right. Conte deserves what he wants. He basically, like, I know we were talking about Mourinho basically guarantees the title, but like he's past it. Conte, there's no way you can say he's past it right now. He just won. He plays attacking football. I don't understand why. Max is absolutely right. It's a terrible move by Levy. Not giving Conte what he wants says you don't want to win. Like, who are you looking for now? Who are we going to get a manager? We've been flirting with Ten Hag, but like, why would Ten Hag want to come here? We're basically like, oh yeah, we want Ten Hag, and it's like, oh no, we're going to go higher. Pochettino, I don't know if he's going to be able to leave PSG. I wrote my article a few weeks ago. Graham Potter, I wouldn't mind Graham Potter. I think he's a decent manager. But if I have a choice between Graham Potter and Conte, I'm taking Conte 10 times out of 10 times. Like, this is BS, man. Like, I just feel so sick to my stomach about this team.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you in terms of the way you look at this, because it's important. Because, I mean, for example, I mean, Mourinho brought a personality to Spurs. I mean, I didn't personally find it to be attractive football. Of course, you were backing him, of course, and that makes sense. You're a Spurs fan, so you're always going to back the guy that's leading your team. But Conte, like you mentioned, the biggest difference between him and Mourinho is, he has a proven track record right now and before. I mean, Mourinho's obviously been a great manager for years upon years, but Conte's proven it this season versus Mourinho, who, hasn't really won, especially a league title, but even anything in a couple years. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, Conte, obviously Juventus was not the same this season, so it's still a deserved title. I mean, you look at that Inter team and you can just go down the list, and he helped guys, really take it to the next level. Lukaku's now a top 5 striker in the world. Lautaro Martinez is, one of those guys who people are like, let me spend 70, 80 million on him. I mean, there's so many other guys in that team, and yet he still found a way to win that league, which, like you mentioned, has been dominated by Juventus for almost a decade now. So all credit to him. But yeah, I think it's bad in terms of the way it came out because, it looked like Spurs were going to get him, which, I think a lot of people question whether or not it would be a right fit for him because to be honest, I think people really know for the most part. I mean, Spurs do need to figure out a couple different things. If they were to keep on the Kane, I think there are some areas of the field where they need to get reinforcements. So it's more of a project than, a one summer window where they can just fix everything, especially when, Daniel Levy is not willing to go splash, 150, 200 million a summer. So I think, but overall it made a lot of sense. It would, bring stability to the team. And Conte probably could get them, fighting for top 4 in one summer just because he's a top 5. He's probably top 5, top 10 manager in the world. He just won the Italian league. And I think if he got a couple different signings, a couple good signings, maybe that could get them near top 4. But let me know what you got to say to that.
Yeah. So my biggest issue here, right, is that all he asked was for backing, man. He really just asked, just back me and we'll win something. And he didn't do it. He just said, no, I'm not going to back you. I don't want to put money into this team. It's not like Tottenham's a poor club either. They're like top 10 most valuable clubs in the world. They just got a new stadium. I don't understand. They just got a new stadium. I mean, I understand the pandemic impacts things, but you don't have to Tottenham has money. Spend the money. Spend the money. Do you not want to win? I don't understand. I just don't understand what this guy wants to do with this team. Levy is English. Enoch and Joe Lewis, they're English. This isn't some Glazer situation or Kroenke situation where he's just out of touch with the fans. They're English. Levy grew up a Tottenham fan. Why doesn't he want them to win? It blows my mind. It legitimately blows my mind because this is a guy who grew up a Tottenham fan, lived in England. He knows the passion behind the fan base, and yet every year in and year out, he just ignores them. He just says, "I don't care. It's all about money. I don't really care." And I've never really been a huge Enoch out. I've never really been a big fan of Enoch, but I understand ownership groups. They have to make money, right? I deal with Bob Nutting, Pirates, right there. See that flag? That's a Pirates flag right there. I deal with Bob Nutting, who's probably the cheapest owner in the world. That man consistently won't invest in his team, even when they have a good team, which is rare in and of itself. I mean, they all somewhat off topic, but there were rumors he wanted Brian Hayes wanted a Kuna contract, and they turned it down. And now look how much money he's probably going to get after this season. The guy is an absolute stud, but they didn't want to spend money on him. It doesn't make sense at all. This is the same thing that's happening in Tottenham now. They don't want to spend money on the team, and at some point, I mean, I'm starting to think that the fact that Mourinho didn't do so well was Levy was trying to get his fingers in there and trying to edit with the team. Why was Harry Winks starting? Why was Dele back in the team? Those are 2 players who aren't quality for Tottenham. They aren't quality players, yet Mourinho gets sacked and all of a sudden they're starting week in and week out. Maybe there was some stuff going on behind the scenes. All I know is I'm fully Levy and Enoch out after yesterday. I think it's a sham. It's a crime, basically, that they're putting more money for their own pockets than for the club. This is a sport. This is about glory. The game is about glory. Tottenham, the game is about glory. Show us, Levy. Show us, Enoch. Please. I beg you. But that do you have anything to say, Christian?
I think you, as a Spurs fan, have said enough. So if anybody can't tell by now, Joe's a little disappointed after yesterday. So we can move on to the next one.
Yes. So moving on, let's talk about the USA. Yeah, USA back in, with the Euros coming up, there is still a little bit of U.S. men's national team action going on. And tomorrow night, the U.S. men's national team will face off against Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League final. And Christian, you've been following this a little bit more than me, so I'm going to let you take the floor on this one.
Sure. So a couple days ago in the semifinals, and this going back before COVID, because this, that was the first game, competitive game for the men's national team in over a year, I believe, maybe even closer to 2 years. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but basically, to be blunt with you, it was a important game for them just because it meant something. They have to, this team, and if anybody who knows the U.S. men's national team, we were not able to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. So, the reputation around the national team has been, okay, let's see what you can do against your own area of teams, the CONCACAF, because, if you can't get through them, well, what are you going to do in the World Cup? Because let's be honest here, in CONCACAF, you have Mexico, who consistently, performs well. They've made some deep runs in some World Cups. They're a good national team overall, I would say, a pretty consistent one. Then you really have Costa Rica. That's about it in terms of teams that should be even at the level of the U.S. men's national team. I think U.S. should be better than Costa Rica personally, but overall, Costa Rica's made some runs as well. But basically, earlier this week, the U.S. played Honduras in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinal, and they looked, and they didn't look great. I'll be honest. They got a goal in the 89th minute from Jordan Cebachu, who plays for Young Boys in Switzerland, and now is going to go back to France. I believe he plays for Rennes off the top of my head. But it was a big goal. He made one run. It was a ball from John Brooks, who plays for Wolfsburg in Germany, a very very good center back, I would say. He's our best center back in the national team, I would go with. Weston McKennie, who is, if anybody knows, is playing for Juventus, which is a very important piece of our team. He's an 8, a very important midfielder. And then Jordan Cebachu comes up with a header. But basically, overall, to sum up everything from that game, U.S. didn't look great. They looked they couldn't find, Christian Pulisic enough. He wasn't doing enough. Gio Reyna had one really important chance where he got through 2 defenders but didn't put the ball on target, so he missed. But they took a late goal. In terms of the Mexico-Costa Rica game, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I have watched the highlights. Both teams had some really good chances. It ended up going to penalties. But in terms of what the U.S. needs to do tomorrow night, they'll be on their home field. So obviously the home fans, Mexico fans will travel per usual, and that makes sense. So they will definitely have their own, backing in terms of fans at the game. But the U.S. do have the upper hand in terms of, who's going to be there and how much support we can get. But the biggest thing, I think, is how, Christian Pulisic performs versus Chucky Lozano, who is the danger man for Mexico, especially with Raul Jimenez, who prayers to him, and hopefully he can get his career back on track after his head injury. But he's not available. So not having him as that number 9, makes things a lot more interesting because, they have to worry more about the speed and the agility of Chucky Lozano and some other guys in that front line. So, this is a perfect opportunity for U.S. to get that first trophy under their belt. They're going to play in the Gold Cup as well. And obviously next season you have, or next year you have the World Cup. So qualifying is going to start coming. The tournaments are coming for the U.S. So this is a very important chance for them to get, their first, big trophy under this new regime, under Greg Berhalter and everybody else with this, new young core. But, I mean, they have their chance. This is their, first opportunity to really show the world that the U.S. men's national team is here to stay. They have a lot of, players playing in Europe. You have the likes of Pulisic, Sergino Dest. You have Gio Reyna. You have Josh Sargent, all these different guys. So I think, for us to show to the world that, we're coming, and with the 2026 World Cup coming to the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, it'd be nice to have a team that's very relevant. So, yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. I would definitely tune in if you can. It's 9:00 tomorrow night on CBS Sports and Paramount Plus. So, yeah, it's going to be a good game, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the things that maybe could be an issue with the United States is that they haven't played that much recently together. We've had international camps where with just all MLS players, while the players in Europe weren't able to get there. I feel like how many games have they fully played with a full team? 3 or 4?
and it's not. I meant it might not even be that many in the most recent months, just because Pulisic, for example, missed the last friendly, and so did Zach Steffen because they were at the Champions League final, and that's a great thing for our the whole of U.S. men's national team, because we want our players playing in those big games in Europe. But obviously, like you mentioned it, I mean that was definitely. What'd you say?
They just don't have the chemistry yet.
Yeah, they don't have the fluidity at all. And one other thing before you go, Tyler Adams also, who is set to be the number 6 for us going forward. He's dealing with injury, so he's on the bench. He's not playing, so that's another guy, like you mentioned, with the inconsistency in terms of chemistry. He's not on the field, so you don't have that familiarity with him as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Tyler Adams too, but I'm intrigued. I'm definitely going to be tuned in for it. Thank you for telling me about this, because I've been more focused on the Euros, to be honest with you. But
rightfully so.
Yeah, because I care about the U.S. when it's time for the World Cup.
Yeah,
but I hope they win. It'd be good for a young team to get a boost, winning a trophy, winning a big thing against your big rivals. Mexico and the United States are big rivals. Let's be honest. In soccer, those two teams are almost always historically. They always go at it in finals. They're always on one half of the group, other half of the group. They meet up in the finals. Yep. And Mexico, I would say, normally gets the best of the United States. So if the kids from the U.S. can manage to beat Mexico here, that's a big thing confidence-wise, boosting as we're getting ready for World Cup qualifiers and going to the World Cup. Because, I think we all have a feeling the U.S. is going to make the World Cup in 2022, right? Look at this team.
It was. You're looking back at 2018. Trinidad and Tobago. That's the team we lost in order to, get to the World Cup. So hopefully, I don't see it happening again. We have so many different players.
So much more talent on the team now, right?
Yeah.
Hey, is that guy blanking on the name? We were talking about him. He chose U.S. over a few other teams.
Yunus Musa.
Is he playing or no?
Once again, I think a lot of people, and I have a decent amount of friends that complain about Berhalter. He didn't even feature in the game against Honduras. He played Weston McKennie as an 8. He played Sebastian Lletget, who's been very good, so I'm not too upset with that one. And they played Jackson Ucl, who's an American midfielder. I forget what team he plays for in the MLS. But yeah, no, Musa he didn't feature, so a lot of people want to see him in the final. Hopefully he can play, because he'd be nice to see as an 8 in that midfield 3.
Absolutely. There's so much young talent that's playing in Europe. Give them the opportunities, man.
Yep.
I want to see how they work. In the grand scheme of things, who cares about this cup? It's all about the World Cup. And yeah. I think a lot of American fans have this feeling that we can really begin to push for a title in 2026.
Yeah, I think that's the goal here. I think looking down, that's really looking far down the line. I need to see 2022 first. But yeah, completely agree. I think we would like to make a deep run in 2026 at home.
I wouldn't be surprised if we make a decent run in 2022. But my vision here is I like to look ahead. I think 2026 is the time when everyone's going to be in their prime and we can legitimately be a force.
Yep. Just got to see progression. So that starts tomorrow. Hopefully. For anybody who's watching, check that game out. It'll be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, and moving on now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we got the Euros coming up, starting up on Friday with – let me check. I know Italy's playing. I think they're playing Turkey. I could be wrong.
I believe you're right on that one, yeah.
Yeah, they're playing Turkey. And before we get into that, let's see. I want to see who are your predictions. Who's going to win it all? I want to – let's put it out there. Who are we supporting? I am supporting Italy.
I'm Dutch, so I got to go with Netherlands, which isn't
okay. I wanted you to say that because a few weeks ago we had this debate.
I remember.
How did Dutch come from the Netherlands? And I have the answer, everyone. This is big for the TWSN Soccer Sit-Down Show. I have the answer of why the Netherlands is called the Dutch. It's because the English speakers back in the day, a long time ago, would just group Germans and the Netherlands together. And we know Germany is called Deutschland. So it just kind of merged together, and that's how we get Dutch. German and Netherlands, Dutch. But now it's not has nothing to do with Germans now. It just has to do with the Netherlands. But yeah, so that's how the Netherlands became known as the Dutch.
Joe probably has an answer, and he gave it to us. So, take a break from soccer, and we can get a little history exam on why Netherlands is called Netherlands and not what we would have everybody else as.
Yeah, all right. The Netherlanders. But yeah, back to the actual sport. So I think Italy can make a run. I don't think they're going to win it all. I think the answer is clear who's going to win it all. I think it's going to be France. Let's see if we can get the groups here. I want to see if we could. Let me see if I can find the groups.
Yeah, so they're one thing, and I forget what group. I think it's the last group. I forget. I think it's Group H. If I have it on top of my head, is considered the group of death. There's three big three big national teams. But yeah, before you get through those groups, I completely agree with you. Before we get started on going in depth, France is going to win this.
I mean, they got Benzema now too.
They have Benzema too, and that's the big key because
I mean, Conte's on great form too. I know we touched on it earlier, but that man is on amazing form.
Yep.
And they got Paul Pogba, and they got Mbappe. This team, and they got Hugo Lloris. It's not fair.
Yeah, that they are the most well-rounded. I mean, I was saying it yesterday to a couple other my buddies. I mean, if you look at their bench could probably make it to a quarterfinal or semifinal. That's how good their bench is. Like that was actually something that Sean mentioned, who made a comment earlier before. But I mean, it's ridiculous how much talent that whole nation has in general. Like from under 21s to the main team. I mean, my goodness, this team's going to be good forever.
I know they're reaping the benefits of colonialism.
All right, but you can break down a couple of the groups. We could do that for sure.
Yeah. Basically, let's see. Group A. I'm gonna run through all the groups, and you're gonna tell me who you think comes out of it, right? So we got. Let's go. We got Portal clicked up. Group A: Italy, Wales, Turkey, Switzerland.
Ooh. Well, okay.
Italy, Wales are going to advance, in my opinion.
I think that's part because Gareth Bale's there, but before we go into this, just so everybody knows, the two best third place teams in terms of points also advance. So that is key. But in terms of that group, I don't know. That's a really tight group because I've heard a lot of nice things and good reputation of Turkey because they have a very good defense. You have guys like Soyuncu. Cebachu, you have Burak Yilmaz up top. But in terms of that group, off the top of my head, I would go Italy, and I'm gonna go with Turkey.
Oh, interesting.
It'll be close. That is a tight group for sure.
Group B: Russia, Belgium, Denmark, and Finland. I'm gonna go. Belgium finishes first. Denmark finishes second. Russia finishes third. Fourth, Finland.
I'd have the same order as you. I think Belgium's one of those sleepers. If Eden Hazard can figure out how to be consistent, we obviously haven't seen that at Real Madrid. But yes, completely agree. And Denmark, has their fair share of talent as well. So that'll be pretty easy for me in terms of the top two for sure.
All right, so we have, oh my gosh, Netherlands, Ukraine. Oh God, I don't know what these two other countries are. There we go. Austria and North Macedonia. All right, so we know the Dutch are advancing in this one. Oh my gosh, this is a terrible.
I think Austria is the one. It's probably going to be Austria. I mean, that's a
terrible group. That's
not a group full of elite players and elite teams. So I'd probably go Austria.
Netherlands is dog walking that group. Oh my gosh.
Netherlands without Virgil van Dijk and
Stevie Bergwijn though.
Stevie Bergwijn, what a man! But the problem is with that team in terms of making a deep run, which we can obviously get to, and we'll see over the next couple of weeks as we talk about these on the show. Frank de Boer is their manager. He is not good. He is, he's been a disappointing manager at the club level. Can he, change that at the national level? Possibly, we don't know. But for context, he got fired from Crystal Palace, a mid-table side in the Premier League, I believe after 7 games a couple years back, which is really disappointing. We really don't see managers get fired that early. And then he also got fired from Atlanta United in the MLS, who have been known to be one of the best teams in that league for a pretty couple years now. So that's disappointing on his end. We'll see if he can change his fortunes. But yeah, the Netherlands will walk through that. They'll probably win all 3 games.
Then we got Group D: England, Croatia, Scotland, and Czech Republic, and I have it in that order. I think England is going to finish first. Croatia finish second. Although I could see those two flip-flopping, Scotland and Czech Republic.
Yeah, honestly, I may flip Czech Republic just because honestly that team's got some talent to them, and their best guy I would say right now is probably Thomas Suchek, who's been great for West Ham.
Yes,
classic partner Declan Rice.
You know what, you're right on that one. I'd probably go Czech over Scotland.
I would like to see Andy Robertson do something special, but let's be honest here, Scotland just doesn't have the talent to compete with those other teams in that group. So, yeah, I would have who was the second team? Sorry, it was England. Who was the other one? Croatia, yeah, and Croatia, right, could flip as well, but I would stick with England right now.
Then we got Spain, Poland, Sweden, and Slovakia. I'm biased towards Slovakia because I have Slovakian good friends in Slovakia, so I'm gonna have them finishing second, just as a little biased thing. But Spain finishing first. And then Sweden and Poland. I think I'd go Poland and Sweden. I mean, is Lewandowski healthy for this?
Yep, he's fit.
No, I'm not going to be biased because I want to get these right. I think Poland's going to finish second.
Yeah, Sweden's an interesting one because they've been so reliant over Ibra for the last decade, over a decade, really. I don't know anybody on Slovakia's national team. I'll be honest with you. Like, nobody comes to my head. I'm sure I'm missing some big key names. But yeah, in terms of Poland, I mean,
they're a hockey country. They're not a.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking if I could be wrong on this, and I think Ilicic could be from Slovakia, from Atalanta. That might be a stretch, but yes, I mean, Poland. I think I would also lean Poland.
I don't know any of these guys. There's some guy who plays for Napoli.
I would have to look myself.
Stanislav Lobotka. Okay, I've heard of him.
But yeah, and we can move on from that. But basically, yeah, I mean, that'll be a tight second place between.
Oh, they have Skriniar.
Okay, that's what I mean. That's a high class defender, but
that's not going to.
I'm more worried about them going forward than defensively.
And they have Dubravka as a goalie.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple big names. But yeah, overall, I think the stars will show up in that group. Obviously, Spain's going to finish first and probably finish by 3 or 4 points at least. But I'll agree with you. I think Robert Lewandowski will get his goals against especially Sweden and Slovakia. So I'll have them getting in second.
And in the group of death, France, Portugal, Germany, and Hungary. And I'm going that exact order: France, Portugal, Germany, Hungary.
Yeah, and I think going back on the point we were talking about way earlier in the show with Chelsea, I mean, they're going to be relying on Timo Werner. And that scares me for them because, they have a lot of talent. They have a bunch of youngsters and some proven guys like Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Thomas Muller. And it's good that they brought Thomas Muller and Mats Hummels back into the fold because obviously Joachim Low, this is his last tournament. So that will probably be the group where we see the third place team get through. I completely agree with you, though. I think France, like we mentioned before, we both have them as the team that's going to win the tournament. But Portugal's right there as well. I think Portugal, if there's going to be one of the other teams that possibly can get it done, I think it's going to be them just because, the sheer talent you have, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, João Felix. I mean, the list goes on. That team is very good. They also have a good mixture of leadership at the back with Jose Font, Rui Patricio. The list goes on. So, yeah, I would also agree. I think I would go in the same exact order. But if there were a third-place team I could lock in right now that's going to get through to the next round, it's going to be Germany. So I completely agree.
Yeah, and then let's look at our my 4 teams that I have that finished third going to the knockout stage is Turkey, Russia, Czech, and Germany.
Oh, it's 4 teams, really?
It is 4.
Okay. Yeah, I would have Germany. It was Sweden was the other one. I believe Sweden. Yeah, hold on. I'll pull it up as well. But yeah, I think Germany's definitely that one that's going to get through. There were like what we mentioned when we went through those groups. I mean, obviously there's a couple groups where you have a clear number 1 and then 2, 3, and 4 kind of up in the air. I think I would have Switzerland getting through in Group A as that third place team. Germany, of course, in Group F. And then, we're going to go with Czech Republic in Group D. So that's what I got.
That's definitely fair. And I mean, our final, let's see how it would work.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know how it would line up they might not even have it where you can figure out the
I'd
bracket.
have to fill out all this. 1 second. Let me see. So I could see it being a Portugal. I think it could be Portugal, France. I could see that. Portugal, France is a possible.
Yeah, I would. So the only caveat to that is if they line up. I don't know how it'll work. We'll see. We'll see when the bracket comes out once they get through the group stages. But if they were not to be on the same side, a third team I would have. It's honestly hard for me to say, but I would think Spain. I think Spain has the pedigree. The only issue, which I saw them play against Portugal yesterday in a friendly, they do not have a striker. All they have is Alvaro Morata, and he is not a clear-cut finisher at this point. So that would be their downfall, but they could get to a final and then lose. So that would be my alternative if Portugal and France.
Ramos playing? Is Ramos on the team?
No, Sergio Ramos is not in the team. No.
I was gonna say I didn't think he was playing.
Nope. He wasn't fully fit, so they didn't bring him in.
Let's go, Azori, man. Forza Azori, Italy, man. Let's go. Let's run the table. Bring it home. It's coming home. And you know what team's not going to win it? I'm telling you right now what team's not going to win it. And I'll put money on it. Should I pull a Daniel and say I'll chug some salsa? Maybe I'll.
It is 11:40 in the morning, but for who's watching, I mean, if you would like to make a hot take.
I will make a hot take. England will not win the tournament.
And if they do?
If they do, what should I do if they do that? Christian, give me some ideas.
We'll come back with ideas for next week.
Christian, give me some ideas right now. We got a little bit of time.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I think this is the type of thing where
I'll buy an Arsenal jersey. If England wins the
buy it, and you have to wear it on a show, at least one show.
Okay. Yeah, I have to buy it too. I can't get it from my friend Jake. I have to buy an Arsenal jersey if England wins the Euros, which it won't matter because it won't happen because England is not a good team. Well, they're a good team, but they're not going to win. They're not serious. They're not a serious team. They're never coming home. You're just never coming home. You Englanders watching this, you aren't winning a World Cup soon, and you aren't winning Euros soon. So get it out of your mind. That's all we have here for today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you again next time. For Christian DeBlock and me, myself, Joe Camrota, thank you for tuning in.